I'm going to begin by introducing ourselves. I'm Tony.
And I'm Chantel.
And we're the Tony and Tel Show. And we want to welcome you to our show. And thank you so much for doing this with us today.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I know that you're an author and you just released your new book. What is it that gives you inspiration to write?
Well, to me, I've been journaling all my life, and it's kind of like a therapy. You know, I document and write every venture of my life. My book is probably half of what I've encountered, and so I just think it's great to, you know, it's just great. Some people like to be on the internet, or some people like to eat. I like to write. So it gives me great pleasure to write down, you know, my day or my week and, you know, kind of share. I think I know it's not just for me, it's for others. You know, things I've gone through, I love to inspire and motivate others. And so if I've gone through something and someone is telling me about something they've gone through, that's an opportunity for me to share, you know, how I got through it and how God has delivered me and things like that. So that's why I do it, really.
All right.
So the name of the book is Celibate, Fabulous and Fearless, right?
Yes, that's the name.
What made you decide that title?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't even have the title in February.
Yeah.
I've had it in manuscript for a while, but I was supposed to get married last August, and it didn't work out. So after that, I kind of lost my fire to finish it. And so in January, I was at church. I attend Faithful Central in Inglewood, Bishop Omer, and he was traveling, and so we had a minister there on staff, and she talked about someone needs to answer the call. And just the day before, I was like, Lord, you know, I'm not a minister, I'm not an author, I don't really feel like doing this. You know, so the next day at church, she said someone needs to answer the call, and she recited everything I said. Someone is saying they're not an author, they're not a minister, but God is saying you need to do this because it's going to bring more people closer to Him, and it's going to heal a lot of people. And so that's why I continued it. But for a month, God would wake me up like 3:32 in the morning. I would look at the clock because I'm like, why am I waking up this early? So I began to say, okay, Lord, I don't even have the vision, the front of the cover. What is this supposed to look like? What is the title?
Yeah.
And that's when He gave that to me.
Wow.
And so fabulous is for women, and, you know, you could be fabulous as a woman, and fearless is for the men. So on the cover, you see a woman's shoe and a man's shoe, and the goal is to walk into the pearly gates.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what do you actually talk about in the book?
Well, it's my autobiography, but through my autobiography, I talk about different things I've experienced. So I've experienced almost losing my life. I don't know if you watched my YouTube video where I was shot. You know, as a kid, I've always grown up in the Word, so I've had an abortion. By watching my clock, which many women do, you know, you feel pressure to get married. I was in an abusive marriage.
Relationships.
Yeah, relationships. And so through it, and I tie the scriptures to everything I've gone through. And so I also added at the end of each chapter, I add tips for lessons learned. So it's kind of like a self-help book, you know. And at my event, when I launched it last Saturday, a woman texted me and she said, you know, I was suicidal before I came to your event on Saturday. And she said, just your testimony and reading your book, she said, I can't put it down. So it's been like The Help, you guys. You know the movie The Help?
Yeah.
Where everyone is like reading my book all over the place. So that is what gave me the greatest gratitude when she texted me that. And I said, wow, if I can just save one person, I'm doing the Lord's work. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Right. You talk about bad relationships, and I know one of the relationships was losing your father at a young age. If I'm correctly, and God in your heart. And, you know, most of us young girls, we grow up without a father, and because of that, we choose different men, the wrong men to be in a relationship with. So could you explain, like, with that part of your book?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I was 4 years old, my dad, we were really, really close, and I remember at a young age at 4 how we used to spend time together, but he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so at that time, no one really knew what that was in the 70s. I was born in 71, and so all I heard was that he was crazy. So I just kind of like erased it out my mind. When I would be in school or grade school, people would talk about their fathers, and I would just act like I didn't have one. You know? You know, because I was, one, embarrassed, and two, I really didn't even know what was going on. So at 9 years old, the Lord blessed me with my stepfather, who has a foundation of the Lord. I mean, he is like a prayer warrior, and so that's where I really got the foundation of being, you know, in the Word. But all my life, I've never really knew how to I've always guarded my heart because I didn't have that really man figure. I mean, my stepfather was there, but he wasn't overbearing and I'm your dad, and he was supportive, but he didn't really say, okay, well, this is how a man should treat you, or this is what you should do. So I was afraid to give my heart. And so last August is when I met my ex-fiance. That's when I said, okay, I'm gonna step out on faith. I'm gonna do this, and it was like, a nightmare. But still in that, God is still good, and next time I'm gonna love like I've never loved before. So that's what I want to encourage women to do. I mean, I just found out about a month ago a woman committed suicide, 38 years old, and because her boyfriend broke up with her. Those are people I wish I could have reached out to because it's not the end of the world.
No, right.
It's many men out there and many women. So
exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so this is your first book, right?
Yes, my first book.
Okay, so what can you say the experience has been like for you writing the book, going through the thoughts and reliving different things maybe?
Yeah.
And, seeing the reaction from different people. What has the experience been like for you?
Wow, well, the experience at first was really negative because, as you know, this is not a book you're going to find at your, local bookstore all over the place. So when they see Celibate, they're like, oh, my God. So, God couldn't have chosen a better person because I really don't care. I didn't make this up. It's in the Word. If you're single, you shouldn't fornicate. And I'm not judging anyone, but, I experienced a lot of negativity. But when people started to read it and they saw how passionate I was about it and how I know that God is real, I think I've turned a lot of people around to say, wow, even one of my doctors, he's a gynecologist, and he said, I encourage him to want to live for God. So I just think my obedience and my, confidence in the Word and God and just motivating, encouraging people. And I'm laying my life out on the line for people to see. I'm not hiding anything. And so if he did it for me, he can do it for you. And that's really the goal. This is not about me. It's about others. And that's what I love to do, and encourage others.
Do you have any favorite authors or a favorite book you've read that just inspires you?
I read like T.D. Jakes. His new book is called Instinct. I love that. Joe Osteen. I read a lot of Christian books.
Okay, yeah.
So those are the authors I kind of read. It, it keeps me focused on, God and everything. I don't really read love or anything like that. But I love T.D. Jakes' books. And my own Bishop Omer, I read his books as well. So that's really the climate I stay in.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said this is your first book. So what do you plan to do after this? So you plan to just leave this book, or you plan to write another one, or
like a series,
are you going to do motivational speaking all over the world about the book, or what are you doing?
Yeah, that's my plan. Brandon's my PR person, and so my plan is to do motivational speaking, whether it's at schools, at colleges, at churches, at conferences, wherever I can. I'm doing motivational speaking. So that is my plan to do that. And, yes, I do want to write another book. No telling what that will be, but I'm sure God will give me the vision for that. But that is my plan right now, just to do my motivational speaking.
All right.
Okay, when you do motivational speaking and you say you go on and you talk to the younger generation and anybody that want to listen and you want to help, what do you do to make sure that your message sticks with them? Because there's, like you say, the self scares people sometimes, So what do you do to make sure that your message sticks with somebody?
Well, first, anytime, like I just spoke at a school the other day, and it was, I asked them what were the issues they were having, or what were, I sent out questions before I even got there. So to kind of gear it towards what they wanted to hear, and then I add my own thing. So if it's a high school or a college, I'm going to talk about growing up. I'm going to talk about living for God. I'm going to talk about even today, in relationships, because a lot of little young kids and men and women, they go through the same things. I don't care if you're white, black, green, yellow, orange. We go through the same issues. And so I just kind of take them through, kind of my life, and it's effective. I think everybody can relate, no matter your age. And I want to capture those people before they get out of high school, those kids, because those are the ones that are really being pressured. And even outside of high school, when I was in college, when I was a young adult in my 30s, I was pressured by friends. I was mocked by friends. I talk about that. I was mocked by men I dated. So I think it's all relevant to say, you know what, you still have to have your values. You still got to stand on the word. And trust me, he's going to get you through. And so it's all been relevant to wherever I speak at.
Mm-hmm. So what makes you want to really be a motivational speaker, though?
I've always done it. Actually, I'm still an HR executive, so I worked at like the Walt Disney Company. So in that role, we're always speaking about whether it's your career or something like that. And I always add a little inspirational something in there. And so I have a colleague, and she came to my event last Saturday, and she told me about 5 years ago when she heard me speak, I was working at a Fortune 500 company, and she said, Monica, this is not your purpose here. You're going to write a book. The world needs to hear you speak because you are so encouraging, whether it's your career, whether it's a divorce, whether it's whatever. And so she's the one that kind of told me a long time ago, and we kind of reminisced on that last Saturday. And so I've always spoke. When I was a young kid, I would speak at church. Like public speaking is easy for me, which that's the number one fear of most people in the world. But I love to do it. So I've always, anywhere I can speak, that was my issue in school. In my book, I talk about when I was growing up, I was a straight A student, and the only thing that my teachers could complain about was that parent-teachers conference is that Monica just talks too much. Like, she does her work, but she talks too much. And so one of my teachers got smart, so when I finished my work, they would have me, pass out papers or help other people, so she would utilize me as her little teacher's pet. So I've always loved to talk. I love to help people. That's just what I love to do.
All right. I want to know what keeps you humble and what keeps you grounded.
It's all God. I'm telling you, He has humbled me so much. I mean, through my humiliation, and everything I've gone through. I mean, He's grown me personally. He's grown me spiritually, and it's just, I'm just, when you see me, that's why I have in the back of my book, what is it that you think you see when you see Miss Carter? Because people would think I'm stuck up or something. But when they meet me, they're like, oh, wow, you are not what you look like. So I am very humble. I want to see people successful before I'm successful. And I think the more you give, the more you get. And I'm not looking for anything, and so that's what really God is looking for, people who are going to just put His word on the platform. And I just love God. I know that He's real. Exactly. So if you read my book, it tells you, like, I know that He was real, that He is real.
So what advice would you give to aspiring writers?
A silent writer?
Yeah.
Aspiring.
Aspiring writer. Well, whatever you write about, just stay true. The last thing I wanted to do is put something out that's fake. Our culture is so used to masking things, and especially if you're writing an autobiography, don't act like everything is perfect because no one gets healed through that. I talk about things that my mom and I went through. That was tough for her to really hear, but I'm like, Mom, no relationship is perfect. But the beauty of it is that you talk about it and you're going to help someone else get through it. And when she read my book, she called me. My mom has never told me how proud she was of me. She's never really been, kind of encouraging. But after she read the book on Sunday, when she started, she called me and she apologized for everything. And so I just gave glory to God, like, hey, if this was all this was for, it was well worth it. And so I just ask people just to be honest, because my honesty is going to help someone else. Especially our culture, we love to act like everything is great and our family is so wonderful. It's not.
It's not. How can our listeners discover more about you and your work? I know your book, Celibate Fabulous and Fearless, is on Amazon. I know you can find it in Barnes and where can you find it?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon, as you mentioned, online, and Barnes and Nobles, and also I'm on Twitter. I'm Miss Carter Cell Fab on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook fan page. It's the same thing, Miss Carter Cell Fab. On Instagram, and also I have my YouTube video. So, and also my website is www.mrc-entllc.com. So it's Monica Renee Carter. And I'm gonna, as I do public, speaking engagements and things like that, I will always update my website so people can follow me there.
Okay. Well, Monica, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to give us this interview. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you. And
yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. so much.
No problem.
God bless you.
God bless.
Too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.